So, this is interesting. Eddie Hearn is going to start putting on fights in his back garden. Now, it's a good idea, obviously, under the current circumstances. The Matchroom headquarters is a big mansion. They've got a gym there, a swimming pool, and they've got a big garden out back. So I get it. You know, it's innovation. It's doing whatever you have to do. I think Dana White was looking to put some of his UFC shows on a private island. In the end, I don't think they've put those UFC, or the last UFC show he did, I don't think that was on a private island, was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he still went ahead and did what he did. Eddie Hearn's answer to what Dana White is doing is to have boxing shows in his back garden. And that includes, by the way, Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. I think that's one of the fights they're looking to put on in Eddie Hearn's back garden. I think outdoor boxing is better than indoor boxing when there's no crowd. Yeah, because at least there's a scenery. At least, because where Eddie Hearn lives, it's very, green and grassy and scenic around there. You could still have the sky cameras panning around and, doing what they do. And you've still got, wildlife, birds and bees and the sound of maybe cars going past and stuff like that to make it a little less stale and sterile, because that's how the atmosphere was, let's say, for the UFC show, which was indoors. Being outdoors, it might be a bit more interesting and a bit more of, just a bit more background to look at. Not that you'll be focusing on the background that much, but it will be a novel event. Anyway, long preamble. The main thing I want to focus on in this video is the fact that this Matchroom fight camp, as Eddie Hearn has called it, is not going to involve Anthony Joshua. Despite the fact that AJ, according to Hearn, wants to be involved in this Matchroom fight camp. He wants to have one of those fights in Eddie Hearn's backyard. He's very interested in that. But Hearn has shut it down. Hearn has said, nah, I don't want AJ. It's not realistic for AJ to fight in my backyard. He wants AJ to fight in front of a crowd. Now, all that's about is money. That's all it's about. Anthony Joshua being the Matchroom cash cow. Obviously, Eddie Hearn wants to maximize the profits. And fighting Kubrat Pulev in his next fight, I'm sure Eddie Hearn is confident that AJ could win, but in the event that he doesn't win, and remember, that's a mandatory challenger. So if Kubrat Pulev wins, I don't think there's a rematch. I think, actually, somebody said there's a rematch clause for that fight, but ordinarily, there isn't a rematch clause. If any of you have got up-to-date information on AJ versus Pulev and whether there is or isn't a rematch clause, please let me know in the comment section below. But back to my main point. Normally with a mandatory challenger, there's no rematch clause. And so as the promoter, you're going to want to maximize the earnings that you get when your cash cow goes in and fights a mandatory defense. Because if it all goes wrong and he ends up losing, you might not be able to have your guy run it back. Like with Ruiz, that was a voluntary, so they could run it back right away. But with Pulev, potentially, they won't be able to run it back. So, yeah, that's why I'm guessing Eddie Hearn might be, a little concerned. And he might be saying, nah, we can't have you fight in my backyard. This is going to have to be in a stadium, even if it's abroad. And then you have to look at Anthony Joshua, right? Because why would he want to fight in Eddie Hearn's back garden rather than fighting abroad in a stadium? Because the whole point of him fighting in the UK again, let's say for the Pulev fight at Tottenham, right? The whole point was to give back to the fans. That's what the point was. He built his brand and his career in the UK and hasn't fought in the UK for a long time. So eventually coming back to the UK to, have this homecoming fight, that's what the proposed venue of Tottenham was all about. Tottenham's new stadium. That's what it was all about. Giving back to the fans who had helped Anthony Joshua build what he has built and become what he's become. But what would be the point in AJ fighting in Eddie Hearn's back garden? What's that all about? From AJ's perspective, just being in the UK? Like, how is it giving back to the fans when there's no fans there? I'm sure you guys understand the point I'm making. So a bit curious there. Maybe AJ's, I don't know, got cold feet about fighting abroad. Maybe it's about energy. Maybe he wants to feel, the energy of winning on home soil again. Remember what that feels like. Maybe he feels like from a psychological point of view, he needs to come back to where it started in the UK on home soil to find his feet again, to find his old confidence. Maybe that's what it's all about. I'm speculating here, obviously, but I just find it curious that AJ would rather fight in Eddie Hearn's back garden than fight Kubrat Pulev abroad for a lot more money, for example, and in front of a crowd, Maybe AJ wants a break from the crowd. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be interested to hear your thoughts and opinions, and also be very interested to hear from AJ himself, see what he has to say and why he was so interested in this Matchroom, what's it called again? Fight Camp. I think I nearly called it Matchroom Fight Pass. Matchroom Fight Camp. So yeah, let me know what you think, people. It's happening. I'm out.